there's people kind of, you ring up a guy who rings up another guy, and then they bring your stuff to the door. It's all very hush hush. Yeah.
You can do anything for money in India.
Yeah. People are doing it hard, I think, but what to do?
All right.
If they let the virus loose here, it'd be pretty bad.
Yeah, fortunately, they closed it down, so there's hardly any virus there.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we get started. Let's see how many people we got. Oh, we got quite a few, 21, and we got a few people on Facebook simultaneously. So actually, I was asked to do it at this time by Her Divine Grace Kishori, who told me I had to do something for the Gold Coast. So by her mercy, I'm here. Of course, I don't see her at all. So anyway, so we're going to start. So what I thought we'd do this evening is have a class on my favorite verse in the Nectar of Instruction. And I was just thinking about this verse today and devotee relationships, and I will talk a little bit about that one. Mostly we'll take questions. So first we're going to read the verse, and as we read the verse, I'm going to have you all look at it. Let me just see if this works. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me share the screen. So this is a very important verse. Actually, it's the fourth verse in the Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, translated and commented on by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And hopefully you'll be able to see it. Hold on a second. I just want to take myself off. Okay, so actually first I should chant Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giri Badadhaudri Gopi Jana Ballabha Giri Badadhaudri Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jai Radhamad Ura Kunya Bihari Jai Radhamad Ura Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giri Varudhauti Gopi Jana Ballabha Giri Varudhauti Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. So Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravitakacharya, also Teta Satashi Shiman, His Divine Grace Abhayacharana, the Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Shivavedas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Sayam Kun Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavanam ki jai, Maturidam ki jai, Jagadasami ki jai, Yamunamai ki jai, Shrimati Tulasi Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we are going to read a little bit from the Nectar of Instruction, the 4th verse, and we will put it on the screen for all of you. Here we go. So, Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakya Chakshur Miritam Gena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. So, it goes as follows: Dadati Pratigunati Guyamakyati Prichati Bungte Bojate Chaiva Sadvitam Priti Lakshanam. And let's go here. Okay. And so the Dati means gives charity, Pratigunati accepts in return, Guyam confidential topics, Akyati explains, Prichati inquires, Bungte eats, Bojate feeds, Cha also, Eva certainly, Sat Vidam 6 kinds, Priti of love, Lakshanam symptoms. So the translation is offering gifts in charity, accepting charity. Hold on a second. Accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind and confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional activities in the association of other devotees. There are 6 kinds of activities. 1, giving charity to the devotees. 2, accepting from the devotees. Please mute. Whoever is not on mute, please mute yourself. 2, I will have to do it for you. Please mute yourself, whoever is not on mute, because I can hear you. Supposed to be able to do it myself anyway. Okay. 2, accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. 3, opening one's mind to the devotees. 4, inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. 5, honoring prasad or spiritual food given by the devotees. And 6, feeding the devotees with prasadam. An experienced devotee explains and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is Guyam Akyati Prichati. When a devotee distributes prasad, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasad as the Lord's grace received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasad, and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called Bungte Bojyate Joiva. Even in ordinary social activities, these 6 types of dealings between 2 loving friends are absolutely necessary. For instance, when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel, and over the feast, openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes presents are exchanged. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of priti or love in intimate dealings, these 6 activities are executed. In the previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees. Sangha Tyagat Sato Vritahe. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. This society was started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and dealing with the give and take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities and people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we are giving them in the shape of books and magazines dealing strictly with the subject matter of Krishna consciousness. We sometimes hold Hare Krishna festivals and invite life members and friends to participate in the feasting by accepting prasad. Although most of our members come from the higher rungs of society, they nonetheless come and take whatever little prasad we are able to offer them. Sometimes the members and supporters inquire very confidentially about the methods of performing devotional service, and we try to explain this. In this way, our society is successfully spreading all over the world, and the intelligentsia of all countries is gradually appreciating our Krishna consciousness activities. The life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by these 6 types of loving exchanges amongst the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, text 62, it is stated, Sangat Sanjayate Kama. Of course, that verse refers to people who contemplate sense objects. One's desires and ambitions develop according to the company one keeps. It is often said that a man is known by his company, and if an ordinary man associates with devotees, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. The understanding of Krishna consciousness is innate in every living entity. That's true, innate, it's already there. And it is already developed to some extent when the living entity takes a human body. It is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila 22:107, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabul Nai, Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Kare Udai. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, the living entity naturally awakens. Since Krishna consciousness is inherent in every living entity, everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna simply by hearing and chanting Shravanam Kirtanam. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 5th chapter, text 23. One's heart is directly purified, and one's original Krishna consciousness is immediately awakened. Krishna consciousness is not artificially imposed upon the heart, it is already there. When one chants the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the heart is cleansed of all mundane contamination. In the first stanza of his Shikshashtaka, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Chetudarpanamarjanam Baba Mahadvagni Nirapanam Traya Kairapa Chandrika Vitaram Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Pranamatasvadanam Sarvapasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. That's from the Anjalila 20th chapter, text 12. All glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Not only is the chanter of the Maha Mantra purified, but the heart of anyone who happens to hear the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is also cleansed. Even the souls embodied in lower animals, insects, trees, and other species of life also become purified and prepared to become fully Krishna conscious simply by hearing the transcendental vibration. This was explained by Thakur Haridas when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired from him how living entities lower than human beings can be delivered from material bondage. Haridas Thakur said that the chanting of the holy name is so powerful that even if one chants in the remotest parts of the jungle, the trees and animals will advance in Krishna consciousness simply by hearing the vibration. This was actually proved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself when he passed through the forest of Jalakanda. At that time, the tigers, snakes, deer, and all other animals abandoned their natural animosity and began chanting and dancing in Sankirtan. Of course, we cannot imitate the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we should follow in his footsteps. We are not powerful enough to enchant the lower animals such as tigers, snakes, cats, and dogs, or entice them to dance. But by chanting the holy name of the Lord, we can actually convert many people throughout the world to Krishna consciousness. Contributing or distributing the holy name of the Lord is a sublime example of contributing or giving charity, the Dadati principle. By the same token, one must also follow the Pratigranati principle and be willing and ready to receive the transcendental gift. One should inquire about the Krishna consciousness movement and open his mind in order to understand the situation of this material world. Thus, the Guyam, Akyati, Prijati principles can be served. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness invite the society's members and supporters to dine with them when they hold love feasts after the coronavirus is over in all their branches every Sunday. Now you'll have to have virtual love feasts. Many interested people come to honor Prasad, and whenever possible, they invite members of the society to their homes and feed them sumptuously with prasadam. In this way, both the members of the society and the general public are benefited. People should give up the company of so-called yogis, jnanis, karmis, and philanthropists because their association can benefit no one. If one really wants to attain the goal of human life, he should associate with devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement because it is the only movement that teaches one how to develop love of God. Religion is the special function of human society, and it constitutes the distinction between human society and animal society. Animal society has no church, mosque, or religious system. In all parts of the world, however downtrodden human society may be, there is some system of religion. Even tribal aborigines in the jungles also have a system of religion. When a religious system develops and turns into love of God, it is successful. As stated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, text 6, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma Yato Bhakti Rahoksajayo Haitakiya Pratiyata Yatma Suprasiditi. The supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. If members of human society actually want peace of mind, tranquility, and friendly relations between men and nations, they must follow the Krishna conscious system of religion by which they can develop their dormant love for Krishna. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as soon as people do so, their minds will immediately be filled with peace and tranquility. In this regard, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur warns all devotees engaged in broadcasting the Krishna consciousness movement not to speak to the impersonalist Mayavadis who are always determined to oppose such theistic movements. The world is full of Mayavadis and atheists, and the political parties of the world take advantage of Mayavada and other atheistic philosophies to promote materialism. Sometimes they even back a strong party to oppose the Krishna consciousness movement. The Mayavadis and other atheists do not want the Krishna consciousness movement to develop because it educates people in God consciousness. Such is the policy of the atheists. There is no benefit in feeding a snake milk and bananas because the snake will never be satisfied. On the contrary, by taking milk and bananas, the snake simply becomes more poisonous. Kevalam, Vishavardanam. If a snake is given more milk to drink, its poison simply increases. For a similar reason, we should not disclose our minds to the serpent, Mayavadis, and Karmis. Such disclosure will never help. It is best to avoid association with them completely and never ask them about anything confidential because they cannot give good advice. nor should we extend invitations to Mayavadis and atheists, nor accept their invitations, for by such intimate intermingling, we may become affected by their atheistic mentality. Sangat sanjayate kama. It is the negative injunction of this verse that we should refrain from giving anything to or accepting anything from the Mayavadis and atheists. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also warned, Vishayira anakaile dushto hoy man, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita 6th chapter, Anjalila 6th chapter, text 278. By eating food prepared by worldly people, one's mind becomes wicked. Unless one is very advanced, he is unable to utilize everyone's contribution to further the Krishna conscious movement. Therefore, on principle, one should not accept charity from the Mayavadis or atheists. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has forbidden devotees to associate with ordinary men who are too addicted to material sense gratification. The conclusion is that we should always keep company with devotees, observe the regulated devotional principles, follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, and in full obedience carry out the orders of the spiritual master. In this way, we should be able to develop our devotional service and dormant Krishna consciousness. The devotee who is neither a neophyte nor a Mahad Bhagwat, that is a greatly advanced devotee, but is within the middle status of devotional service, is expected to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friends with the devotees, show favor to the ignorant, and reject the jealous and demoniac. In this verse, there's brief mention of the process of making loving transactions with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and making friends with the devotees. According to the Dadati principle, an advanced devotee is supposed to spend at least 50% of his income on the service of the Lord and his devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami has set such an example in his own life. When he decided to retire, he distributed 50% of his life's earnings to Krishna's service and 25% to his relatives, and kept 25% for his personal emergencies. This example should be followed by all devotees. Whatever one's income, 50% should be spent on behalf of Krishna and his devotees, and this will fulfill the demands of Dadati. And the next verse, Srila Rupa Goswami informs us what kind of Vaishnava should be selected as a friend and how Vaishnavas should be served. Amazing verse. So we will go back to stop sharing this. So this, there we go. So this verse is actually very inspiring to me. Now, why does this principle work that one advances in devotional service, or our movement, other place, Prabhupada said, our movement advances by the loving exchanges between the devotees? Well, it works because the devotees carry bhakti. And if you want bhakti, you can't get it from Krishna. You have to get it from Krishna's devotee. As we mentioned many times before, bhakti is independent. And Krishna doesn't give it. Bhakti resides in the heart of a devotee, and you have to get it from the devotee. And there's many statements to that effect. Krishna says in the Adi Purana, one who says he is my devotee is not my devotee. But one who says he is a devotee of my devotee is my devotee. And then Lord Shiva, famous verse, says, Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu, Aradhanam param tasmat parataram devis, Tvariyanam samarchanam. He says the best type of worship is worship of Vishnu, but even better is worship of Vishnu's devotees. So Vishnu's devotees have Vishnu in the heart, just like Hanuman. Hanuman opened up his chest, and what was in his chest? Sita and Ram. He was actually accused of not having love for Sita and Ram, because he was chewing on the pearls that Sita Devi had given him. He was chewing on the pearls to see if Ram was there. And he said, if you want to see if I have love for Sita and Ram, let me show you my chest. He opened up his chest, and there were Sita, Ram, and Lakshman in the chest. So Krishna say Tamar, Krishna dite par. Krishna belongs to the pure devotee. So Krishna belongs to the devotee. On the other hand, if we offend the pure devotee or offend any devotee, then nagati katopi, as the verse goes. You don't know where you're going to go. In other words, you're not going to go back to Godhead. And we understand committing offense against devotees, your attachment for Krishna gets second class, third class, fourth class, or last class. So one interesting thing about this verse, it doesn't just say offer prasadam, accept prasadam, give gifts, accept gifts, reveal one's mind in confidence, and hear from others, etc., like that. It says that one must do these things with devotion. So that's a very interesting statement. With devotion. There we go. With devotion. So how do you get devotion? In other words, what is devotion? Devotion doesn't mean infatuation, or I like the way you look, or I like your dog, or I love your computer, or whatever. I love your hairstyle, because my hairstyle you can't love too well. So devotion means that we simply want to please someone. And why do we want to please someone? Because we want to please someone. It's causeless. Haituki, Prabhupada quotes this verse here. Haituki pratiyata yatma suprasidati. That devotion for Krishna and devotion for Krishna's devotee has to be based on the fact that you have some love for them. And of course, how do you get love? I mean, in the case of Krishna, we get love. How? Because we hear about Krishna, we hear his qualities. Prabhupada would often say, you can't love God unless you know God. So with devotees too, it's the same thing. Like if you hear regularly about, let's say Prabhupada. I mean, it's the best example I can think about. Like if you hear about Prabhupada, about his qualities, his determination, certainly he's not God, he's the servant of God. But if you hear about his bhakti, then that bhakti of his makes you love him and brings you love of Krishna simultaneously, because things equal to the same thing or equal to each other. The pure devotee is not Krishna, but he gives your devotion, your love to Krishna. Very nice. Very nice. Shakshadari Tvena Samasta Shastra, as we're chanting sometimes in the morning, that he actually gives your love to Krishna. So the important thing is to hear about Krishna's devotees, to hear from Krishna's devotees, to hear about Krishna's devotees, and then you actually get a relationship with them. And the interesting thing about a relationship, it's not based upon physical presence. Like you can love Prabhupada, someone who never physically, externally came in contact with Prabhupada, can love Prabhupada just by hearing about him. And of course, seeing his picture, but hearing about him and what he did. So when you hear about Prabhupada and you love Prabhupada, then loving others is actually connected with that. Just like loving Krishna, because everyone's connected with Krishna. Yastu sarva, this one is Upanishad. Yastu sarvani bhutani atman evana pashati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato navigigupshate. Like it says in the Upanishad, the one who actually sees everyone as connected with Krishna doesn't hate anyone. And of course, one of the qualities of a pure devotee is a jata shatrava. That means he or she who has no enemies, or whose enemy has never been born. So that's the point, that when you become Krishna conscious, when you connect with Krishna through his devotee, then you actually have love for everyone. At the same time, you reciprocate with people differently according to their interests in Krishna consciousness, as mentioned elsewhere in the Upanishad. I mean, the Nectar of Instruction. I'm sorry about that. No, it's Upanishad. Like if someone, you reciprocate with Krishna by serving him, you reciprocate with an advanced devotee by serving him, reciprocate with equally advanced devotees by also serving, but reciprocating with them as friends, and with less advanced devotees or people who are innocent, you give them Krishna consciousness. So these loving exchanges. But the loving exchanges, the point I'm making, these 4 loving exchanges, three types of loving, okay, 6 types. These 6 types have to be done with love. Not just like, oh, here's your prasadam, baby, or give me prasadam, or here's your gift, or where's my gift, or let me reveal my mind, and then you tell the whole world about what I said, because it says guyam akyati prichati, incompetence. So in other words, it has to be done with love. We have to learn how to love each other. I love all living entities. I mean, that is a tough one. And so how does loving Krishna, or Krishna, let's say, how does loving Krishna's devotee accomplish that? Because by, let's say, in my case, hopefully I love Prabhupada, by loving Prabhupada, then I am, in one sense, channeling Prabhupada. I'm not saying channeling in the sense of Ghostbusters or something like that, but I'm channeling Prabhupada. I'm thinking what would please Prabhupada. Even if you don't have that love, you're thinking of the person whom you love, right? Even if you don't have that love for, let's say, okay, let's say a cockroach walks into my room right now. Let me look. No cockroaches, anyway. A big, ugly cockroach, with wings. You seen them? They have wings like that and they fly. I remember some children used to call them flying dates because they look like a date, things you eat that has wings on it. So let's say a big, ugly cockroach walks in my room, and from the material concept, if I'm materially absorbed, I'll look at a cockroach and go, yuck. What an ugly creature, get him out of here. And of course, that's one response. But then I'll think, okay, I'm supposed to be a devotee. What would Prabhupada say? And then you go to the cockroach and give him some prasadam and then put him outside. I'm not suggesting you live with cockroaches. They can be a little challenging as friends. So, in other words, we have to see through the eyes of Shastra. And that means what we've been taught by our spiritual master and what we've been taught by reading the Vedic literatures, not just see through our own emotional eyes. That's what a yogi is. He controls his mind because the mind is accepting and rejecting things based upon what's pleasing to it, what's displeasing to it. But in yoga, you actually use the higher self, the intelligence. The intelligence is based upon the words of the spiritual master and the words of Krishna, and you're trying to please them. So when I see that cockroach, even though, I may not be in love with the cockroach, hopefully not, I'm thinking that Krishna loves this cockroach. This cockroach is as dear to Krishna, as important to Krishna as I am. Because I'm thinking, here I am, human body, guru, all the power positions, and I have my big computer and all that other nice stuff. But I'm not any more important to God than that cockroach. It's hard. It's hard, but you have to see through Krishna's eyes. And then you engage. The cockroach is innocent. You just give him some prasadam, and then he'll make spiritual advancement. He'll become a human being in his next life. Prabhupada said many years ago when I was teaching young children, I used to be a teacher. When I was teaching young children, Prabhupada told me that any time the children fed the ducks old bread, old prasadam bread, the ducks would actually take a human birth in the next life. So there's compassion, or the holy name. It's like Prabhupada quoted there, that Lord Chaitanya asked Haridas Thakur, how are the inanimate living entities or lower living entities benefited? And they're benefited by the loud chanting of the Lord's holy name. So if we're engaging in these loving exchanges, actually that is extremely pleasing to Krishna, and it transcends the body. It transcends the person's mind. They're not aware even of what's happening when they hear the holy name, how they're becoming spiritually advanced. Of course, that's called the Gyata Sukriti. And I'll give you a practical example. This is something very funny that happened to me recently. Anyway, I have a mother. That may come as a shock. I did not descend from the spiritual world. I have a regular mother. She's 92 years old. Okay. And so she knows I'm a devotee. Basically, she's forgotten everything else in the world except she has me as her son and my brother as her son. She even forgot, last time I spoke to her, she even forgot that she was married. She said to me, I was never married. I said, oh, Brahmacharini. So anyway, so I was speaking to her, and she, last conversation I had, because she's forgotten everything, and she knows I'm Krishna conscious. She always, actually recently, she's always referred to me by my spiritual name, Pure Krishna. So let's call her up on the phone. I said, Mom, what's happening? And she said, I have something to tell you, my son. I said, what do you have to tell me? She said, I'm a Hare Krishna. Oh my God. I'm a Hare Krishna. You know, I had to keep myself from falling on the ground and just like laughing like anything. And then I said to her, I said, Mom, I have news for you. I'm also Hare Krishna. She said, really? I didn't know you were Hare Krishna, even though she knows that. So the point I'm making is that by a little association without someone being aware of it, it surpasses the conscious mind. It transcends the conscious mind. It goes right to the heart. You know, Cheto Darpanam Arjanam, Bhava Mahadvagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairagya Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidyavada Jivanam Anandam Buddhivadhanam Praspadam, Pranambrita Svadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. It actually cleanses the heart, whether they're aware of it or not. So we have this responsibility to engage these loving exchanges with everybody. And then also, to please Krishna, we have the responsibility of engaging in loving exchanges with the devotees. That pleases Krishna. If Srila Prabhupada sees that we're loving exchanges with the devotees, and Krishna sees that, he becomes so pleased with us. You want to please Krishna. That's the best way. That's the best way. You get the mercy of all the devotees. Not that you just think I get the mercy of my spiritual master. You get the mercy of all the devotees. And then you become Krishna conscious. So anyway, so this is what I had to say about this verse. Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to mention. Okay, about communicating with devotees. We all have this habit, not we all, me and a lot of us, have the habit of communicating by text message. You all see this? This is a phone. For those of you who don't know, this is a mobile phone. Maybe you didn't know that. I haven't seen a regular phone, old style phone in years. So what we do is when we want something, we just say, you're in Maya. Okay. And you feel real good about it. Of course, we can text about certain things, you know, like what time am I going to meet you in the temple? Okay, 6 o'clock, fine with me. So that's actually a good use of it. But anything more serious, because I need over 90% of communication is verbal and also nonverbal, which means body language. Body language. Okay. Okay. Now I found who is not on mute. That's Draupadi. Draupadi, put yourself on mute, please. Thank you. Thank you for your compassion. So, so anyway, so we need to develop close relationships and loving relationships with devotees by opening our mind and being physically present, or at least, here we are on the internet, which, because we can't be physically present with all of you right now. So, and give people the benefit of the doubt, rather than putting a label on someone. We ordinarily put labels. Anyone who's read my book will know what I'm talking about empathic communication. We label someone, he's puffed up, or she's whatever, he's lazy. So when we talk to people face to face, it really is good. And we should take the time of doing that. Of course, nowadays, it's interesting, now that many of you are in lockdown, you're locked down with family members or with other people that you've never sat and talked to before. I mean, sometimes you find out that the husband hasn't talked to his wife in 20 years because they're all running around doing so many things. Or the children haven't talked to their parents because the parents are running around being soccer moms or baseball dads. And this is actually a phenomenon I just read about a few days ago. And now they're at home, not running around so much, and they're actually getting to know each other and getting to like each other. The wife will say, I didn't know I was married to you. I remember when I was young, my father would go to work at like 4 o'clock in the morning before the devotees got up and chanted Hare Krishna. And he'd come back at 10 o'clock at night. So basically, after a few years, I had to get introduced to him. Not really, but it wasn't that bad. But it's nice to be able to sit down with people and talk to them. I mean, I just experienced, when I was locked down here for about 20 days or something like that, and I hadn't, sort of saw people, saw devotees at a distance. But it's nice to be able to be with people and, communicate with them. It's actually a great pleasure. So anyway, so we can relate with devotees like that too. Take the time. Don't try to make shortcuts. Take the time, appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody, if you're in charge of a temple, appreciate everybody who comes to the temple and serve and make relationships with them. And so this is what this verse states. Not only giving prasadam, accepting prasadam, giving gifts, accepting gifts, revealing the mind and confidence and listening to others. Take the time. Don't try to do it efficiently. Do it lovingly. Take the time with people who are important to you. So anyway, that's my message for today. So we will open up the floor for questions, the floor or the computer or the internet for questions. And we have 45 people here, and we have a lot of people on Facebook, but Facebook, I can't see the questions. So those of you who want to ask questions, okay, question? Pranesha is the famous devotee in India, and he's helped me tremendously in India. He's a nice disciple, and he always gives me prasadam. Anyway, so you have a question?
Yeah, my question is how to identify to the devotees, to not get offended, and how, either the devotees get offended or not, how to identify them.
If devotees get offended by something you do, how to take care of it? Is that what you're asking? Yes, no?
To identify.
I think if you take the time and sit down and make friends with devotees, then offenses usually occur, or in many cases occur, because of misinterpretation or perception of what you have done. Because you're running around too quickly, trying to do too much. I mean, that's one thing I've realized by this lockdown, that sometimes we're just running around, anyway, like, I hate to use the expression, like a chicken without its head. That's a horrible expression, because that they know about in Fiji, where they cut off a chicken's head and the chicken just keeps running around, body just keeps running around. So we're running around doing so much, and we don't take time for the important things, which is relationships. I mean, what pleases Krishna more than the deity worship, more than all the opulence or whatever you're doing, is how we deal with his devotees, all devotees. So we take the time, slow down, as that nice song goes, slow down, you move too fast. Got to make a moment last. You probably never heard that song because you were not a hippie like me, but that's it. You don't know what a hippie is even. Anyway, so thank you for your question. Who else has a question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Madhavananda here.
Madhavananda, good to see you.
Same here. Maharaj, you spoke about communication. The communication is the key. And of course, in some kind of management, communication becomes so important. But devotees, as you said, they would like to communicate everything on WhatsApp. And then that leads to misinformation, miscommunication, and the expression. And that maybe the way we want to say, express, or the tone, things, they take it in a completely different manner. But in this world, we don't have much time to sit down and discuss issues or things, and it leads to confusion and create confusion. So do you think
Yes.
there should be a system where we should have once a month, just out of ordinary, sit down and have a meeting and discussion about things, personal life, temple life, everything?
Yeah. One-to-one, just not an official discussion, just like, how you feel, what's happening in your life, like that. And you can do it on WhatsApp, but I find if you do a video call, it's actually better, not texting. Right now, obviously, you can't really go out and meet too many people. I mean, at least I can't. So this is the only way I have of dealing with it right now. But I just saw a recent incident here where there are two parties, like the beginning of some conflict, and they just got on. They were just sending email messages before, when they got on WhatsApp, or not WhatsApp, Zoom, and they actually had a face-to-face conference. Then turns out they became good friends almost. So I think it's a question of taking the time. I mean, I really don't like email for anything serious, because then it's really heavy to deal with things. I mean, in the GBC, we have to deal with all these emails. I mean, today I got this email about what to do with Guru Dakshin. I almost had a heart attack. So, said, oh my God, I'm going to have to go with a begging bowl now and just like beg for pennies or something like that. So, better to sit down and talk about serious things. It's just like, I don't like email. I mean, I used to like email. I was one of the first ones in ISKCON to do email, and I used to love it. But now I'm seeing it causes so much conflict between devotees, and in the outside world too. It causes so much conflict. So what one devotee suggested is you write a heavy email to someone and you go to sleep, and then when you wake up, you erase it. I think it was also Benjamin Franklin or some American person in the past who said that if you get angry with someone, you write a heavy letter, put it in your drawer, and go to sleep, wake up the next morning and rip it up. So that might be a good idea. I mean, because the most important thing we have is our relationships. I mean, even if you're a little deficient in the deity worship, I'm not saying you should be, but even if you're deficient in the deity worship, then the relationship is more important. I mean, it's said that when a Vaishnava comes, even if you're doing deity worship, you're supposed to stop the deity worship if there's no one else to receive that Vaishnava. So who else has a question? Yes. Oh, Gopinath. Where are you?
I'm in Mayapur by the Mahaprabhu's mercy.
You're Mahaprabhu's lockdown.
Yeah. In a purport, Prabhupada talked about avoiding the association of the atheists.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you could describe the balance when family members are atheists and then there are family gatherings. What would be kind of a best for preaching to show up, or
Yeah, don't talk about Krishna with them. It's, don't, oh my God, I don't want to use this expression, but don't throw pearls in front of a particular animal. I'm not going to mention the animal, but I mean, you just don't reveal. I mean, I had experience with my father before he became Krishna conscious, well, before he passed away, but he actually became very favorable at the end. In the beginning, I was preaching to him, and that's the last thing a son wants to do, is try to preach to the father. And it didn't work. He just got angry and angry and angry. And after a while, we got resolved. I'll just talk about politics with him. I said, just have a talk about Donald Trump with him. Of course, Donald Trump wasn't there. My father was alive. But, I just told my father, we won't talk about Krishna. And after a while, I became favorable, just like my mother. I mean, I haven't been able to talk to her about Krishna at all. And now she thinks she's a Hare Krishna devotee at the end of her life. It's pretty interesting. And for Mother's Day, I just got her a gift. What it is this device that looks like a picture frame. And it's a video calling device, so I can call her. And anytime she'll see me, and I can put pictures of Krishna there. I have complete control of it. So it'll be a picture frame in her house. I still have to send it to her, just set it up. That I'll have control of from here. So it's using modern technology to be tricky. So anyway, just got to be careful. If you are actually a Mahabhagavat, then you can preach to anyone. Like Prabhupada, Prabhupada's a Mahabhagavat, and there was no problem with him interacting, preaching, sharing, doing whatever with anybody. But we are not, and so we have to be careful. Lord Chaitanya is God. He's able to preach to Prakashananda Saraswati and all the Mayavadis, but we're not at that level. So Krishna Priya, you had a question. You raised your hand.
Please set my obeisances. So I was just thinking about, like, when we first started the temple here, it was very small, and there were, a smaller group of congregation that was coming. And I remember I knew everybody, like I'd be in the altar and I knew everybody. And it was easy, to have really personal relationships, and those people still remember us. And then I was thinking right now we're not big at all, but as things grow and as become bigger, and there's like so many people that are coming, that it becomes more difficult, to have that kind of personal loving relationships. I know that's why they have bhakti vrikshas, but it's just something I was really reflecting on, how do we keep that very personal touch with people when they come?
Be like a car salesman, learn a lot of people's names.
But it's really loving, we really know them, we can say.
I think communicate with the soul. You can't really know a lot of people. I mean, that many people. We sometimes on Janmashtami, for those of you who don't know where we are, we get up to 6,000 or 7,000 people coming. And 6,000 or 7,000 people is a lot of people to remember. I can't remember everybody. It's extremely difficult. So therefore, I try to see Krishna in everyone's heart and address Krishna in everyone's heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
You try to talk to the super soul and see them as brothers and sisters and people you know. I mean, when I see people, I just consider them friends, people I know already. I always see like that. I try to see like that. Okay. Nice question. All right. Who else has a question?
Hare Krishna Gurudev Dandavat Pranam.
Hey, you're still up.
Sorry.
Is Krishna Chandra all right?
Yes, I think he's watching. He still has a little bit of pain, but it is improving, and his appetite is not there, but still he is able to eat, and things are moving in positive direction.
Good. That's very good. So you have a question?
Yes, Gurudev, you mentioned while reading the text that not to accept charity from Mayavadis or atheists. Like in the temple, many a times, we do get donations like they are,
Mayavadis.
not exactly Mayavadi, but like people who sell liquor and things like that.
Yeah, that's fine. Because we give it to Krishna. In other words, we don't accept it for ourselves. Krishna can purify it because Krishna can deal with Mayavadis and personalists and whatever. But if you're personally taking charity from someone who is materialistic and you are not a very advanced devotee, you can contaminate your mind. You see, in the case of Raghunath Das Goswami, who was getting charity from his parents. Raghunath Das Goswami was in Jagannath Puri serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his parents were giving him charity, and he's using it for his service, even for Lord Chaitanya, but his service. Then Lord Chaitanya was very pleased when he stopped taking that charity because he said it could contaminate the mind. So I think we can accept whatever people give, but it has to be given 100% to Krishna, not
100.
simply for our own bodily maintenance.
Okay.
I mean, you're working as a doctor, people are paying you, that's fine, that's different. But if people are just giving you, let's say someone gives you charity just because they love you for some reason, other than your wife and your daughter, but then you have to be very careful, because even when you get money, or any sort of charity, you can't be equipoised anymore at that point. I mean, even psychologically, you're biased. That's why even when someone takes a political office, they're supposed to give up all investments, because their decisions will be biased, even though there's a particular leader of a particular country who cannot be named, who kept his investments and just left them in the hands of his son, and people criticize him for that. So, we have to be careful that we're equipoised when dealing with people. Not that I will deal with you because you give more money, or I will excuse you for all sorts of things you're doing because you give more than someone else. I mean, it's actually quite a dangerous mentality.
Yes.
So one has to be very careful.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Okay, let's see. Another question. We have time.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I'm sorry
Yes.
because my phone went on unmute. And I have a question, Guru Maharaj. When we do service at the temple, people like some public from here bring sweets from the shops, like they're vegetarian shops, but they prepare the sweets and they bring it and put it on the altar, near the altar, for us to offer. And shall we accept that, or what shall we do?
Yeah, as long as it's vegetarian and it's not part of the deity's regular offering, yes. Because people are bringing it with some devotion. I mean, the devotion may be mixed.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, people come to the temple because they want something. Let's be honest. Because most people who come to the temple are not asking Krishna, please let me become a pure devotee and serve you eternally, life after life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just honestly, most people, even most of our devotees, even though they say it, they may not mean it. So yeah, we accept it. We engage it in Krishna's service as long as it's vegetarian, sweet. I think it's, this is loving exchange with them. But it's not that you take the sweets and say, goody, goody, now I can take them home and enjoy and gain another 50 kilos.
We usually don't offer it, we give it away to some.
Yes, give it away, don't eat it yourself.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I know devotees who go to Mayapur and they spend their time just like looking for the sweet shops. You know, just where is the sweet shop, and waiting until all the sweet shops close at night, and whatever's left over, they just buy everything at a low price. Hopefully you don't do that, Gopinath. No, he doesn't. He doesn't like sweets. So
I do my own sweets.
oh, he does his own sweets. All right. Who else has a question?
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you for a lovely class.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask about the unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service.
Okay.
When you are a practicing devotee and you're practicing bhakti and you have a family who's not attending devotional service or doing, you know, coming to feasts or, you know, festivals or whatever, and that impedes on your service, what would you recommend would be the best way to create more of an unmotivated service and desire to actually be able to do devotional service in around your lifestyle of, you know, for children, the youngest is 17, but trying to blend that in, so to speak, so you can have that sort of regularity of doing devotional service?
Well, the unmotivated devotional service starts internally.
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with people or living with people who are not either interested in Krishna consciousness or they're just adverse or whatever it is, it'll start with praying for them internally, praying to Krishna for them. I mean, the internal devotional service, sometimes we can't do something externally because of the situation we're in. So the unmotivated devotional service can be done internally. Krishna accepts the service done internally. There's an example given in the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, of a Brahmin who didn't have the ingredients for cooking for one reason or other. And he was able to cook in meditation. And as he was cooking sweet rice in meditation, one day he went in his meditation to test the sweet rice with his finger to see if it was hot or cold, because it was supposed to be cold for offering. And then he touched it in the meditation, burnt his finger, came out to the external world, and his finger was burnt, and Krishna took him back to Godhead. So an impetus for someone who is in a situation like I think you're describing, who is surrounded by people who are maybe not interested in Krishna consciousness, is to really go internal. Internal in your Krishna consciousness. And don't worry, if you can't do things externally, Krishna understands. Krishna is, first of all, Krishna knows everything, and he knows our limitations. We can only do what we can do. We're all limited to a certain extent. And if we're doing 100% according to our own ability, then that's 100%. 100%. Like Hanuman and the spider, which you may know, like a little spider was throwing little dust to build a bridge to Lanka, and Hanuman was throwing boulders, and the spider was doing as much service as Hanuman. So if you're just internally praying to Krishna for them, Krishna will accept that as unmotivated service.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Actually, a very good question. So maybe one more question. It is 7 o'clock at night here, and it's early in the morning. Okay, here to that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances, Maharaj. Maharaj, this is Abhiram. Maharaj,
Abhiram Saka or?
Abhiram Nitai Gauradas.
Oh, Abhiram Nitai Gaura. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Maharaj, in regards of charity, I just want to ask you one thing, bit specific. Whom should we do charity, and who are the persons who are really eligible for the charity?
Well, we give charity. I mean, as far as you're talking about donations and things like that, to people who can engage in Krishna's service. Now, another type of charity is giving prasadam or charitable prasadam to anybody, because that will help them advance. I mean, right now, ISKCON in India, as you're probably aware, is giving millions of plates of prasadam out every day to people who need it. And this is appropriate charity.
Okay.
Prabhupada actually said in Mayapur, nobody should go hungry within, 10 miles of the temple, when he saw the children and the dogs fighting for the devotees' remnants.
Okay.
So, we can give charity to anyone. It's just a type of charity we give. We don't just like throw out money, because people spend the money on other things. Like if I go through, of course I can't go to a city right now, but if I went to a city, I remember when I was young, one time I was getting on the train in New York City, and one street person approached me and said, can I have a dime for whatever? In those days, a dime was worth a lot. A dime was 10 cents. And I gave it to him. And the police came up to me right afterwards and said, don't you understand? You're just going to use it to buy liquor with. And that sort of struck me, that was charity in the mode of ignorance. Of course, I wasn't aware of Krishna consciousness at that time. I was like 12 years old or whatever, but in New York City. So charity should be given in the mode of goodness, in the transcendental mode. We can read the Bhagavad Gita about charity in different modes of nature. Charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. In fact, I'm actually doing a whole study right now. Hopefully I'll get it together in the next few days, about the Bhagavad Gita's teachings about the modes of nature and how they affect us and how they're relevant in our lives. It's quite interesting. There's in the Bhagavad Gita, there's over 100 verses that deal about the modes of nature, just specifically dealing with the modes of nature. It's quite interesting. I mean, not just one chapter about the modes of nature. It's all over the Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, thank you for your questions. Who else wants to ask a question before we terminate this interview? This is actually very nice. This Zoom is very nice to be able to interact personally with people. I really appreciate seeing people's faces when they ask questions. And it's actually very nice. And we got 45 people on right now. And I think Tulsi has a question. Are you raising your hand?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Please have my obeisance.
Okay.
Okay, so many of our people come into Krishna consciousness, they're with their families and everything, and their families are giving money and supporting them and everything. So, and they're making spiritual advancement by that. But so how do you deal with that insofar as what we were talking about, getting contaminated by accepting things and then using them for personal?
I think that's an exception. That's an exception, because people are just coming to Krishna consciousness. I mean, ultimately, it's good to be not beholden to anyone else. I mean, independence is good, especially as one gets older and advances in Krishna consciousness. Because beholden to great devotees, that's fine. But to be controlled or be dependent, a dependent relationship means control. And when there's control, then you're not really equal poised or able to make 100% your own decisions anymore.
Yeah, you're compromised.
It's compromised. I think in the beginning it's one thing, but in the end, and that's like a Brahmin. For example, one is considered a Brahmin because his means of livelihood are independent. And I know that's not practical for most devotees because they have to work a job and everything like that. But at least for the sannyasis, for people in renounced order of life, it's just that you can't really be dependent on someone who is giving you money, and then you change your whole point of view because of that, and you change your preaching because of that. Prabhupada certainly never did. Prabhupada just spoke very straightforwardly, whether or not someone was rich or poor, Prabhupada was just right to the point. He was never influenced by someone's material position or his opulence.
Well,
Good
seems
question. What's that?
at the same time, aren't they making spiritual advancement by supporting us?
Yes.
Or giving
Yes, that's
in
right. That's right. There's different stages. There's different stages. In the beginning, yes. In the beginning, yes. But we have to be careful not to be compromised. You know, it's just like, you know, in many countries, people are compromised by bribes. Judges, you know, I know in certain countries, which I would make nameless, there are judges that are bribed or priests that are bribed. Whoops. Arjuna, you have to put yourself on mute unless you want to raise your hand in a second. Oh, you are raising your hand. Okay, let's take a question from Arjuna since he was playing his drum.
Sorry, I forgot that I was unmuted. Hare Krishna Gurudev. So the self-realized souls, it's talked about how they conquer sleep. And then we also see self-help gurus like Jimmy Quick who talk about using positive thinking and gratitude and sleep hygiene to need a lot less sleep. Can we consider that they've also got gathered sleep? And is there some connection between the, you know, when a self-realized soul conquers sleep, is it because they become grateful? And
I mean, these are material techniques, and we can learn material techniques. I certainly study material techniques about health and cleanliness, and you know, we have to take help sometimes from the material. We're not against material science. We use it in Krishna service. You're not driving a car, are you?
no, I'm waiting in the grocery store. They've got a wait in your car thing.
Oh, I see. I thought you were on the road driving
No.
and doing film at the same time. I mean, this is wild. All right, good question. So one more opportunity to ask questions, or else we're going to end. And tomorrow we have the Sunday feast. I hate to use the word feast. The Sunday program in New Goloka. That'll be at 5 o'clock East Coast time, and in the evening or afternoon. And then that means at 7 o'clock in the morning, Monday in Australia, 9 o'clock Monday in New Zealand, and in Europe it's the middle of the night. And India, it'll be in the morning. So actually we got some devotees who are raising their hands. Let's see, we got Divnio Lal.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Oh, Hare Krishna, good to see you.
It's Dhruvnath Das here, Maharaj.
Oh, good.
Please accept
Yeah.
my humble obeisances. So, Maharaj, my question is that sometimes when we are like at our workplace and someone dies, then we all have to contribute to something. We know that it's not really for any spiritual reason, or they're going to use it to buy something that's in the mode of ignorance. So how do we go about that?
Just for social purposes, it may be required if you're working a job. Are they going to buy kava or something?
Yes, man. It's like maybe indirectly we have to give money.
Well, have them buy the kava from a devotee. That's funny. Anyway, so yeah, sometimes you're just forced in a situation like that. I mean, while you're dealing in the material world, you always have some connection with activities that are not exactly kosher or proper. I mean, even if you buy something from the supermarket, the money is going ultimately to people who are going to be eating meat or whatever like that, or if you, anything. I think any occupation you have, except for preaching Krishna consciousness, you're going to have some connection with something else happening that's not exactly cricket. You understand what I mean? And you're driving a taxi, devotees drive taxis, and if you're driving a taxi or Uber or Lyft, then you're going to sometimes have to carry meat in the car because you're going to pick up someone with meat. If you're working for Facebook, then you're actually connected with everyone's Facebook pages, and so many people doing horrible things on their Facebook pages. So I think you have to be practical in this world. You know, if you have to contribute something, contribute it. and understanding this is necessity. I mean, if you're employing people, you have to pay them a salary, even though they're going to buy things like meat and stuff like that with the money. So there's no way of avoiding connection. Just try to minimize that sort of connection with activities that are counterproductive to Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you.
Okay, and I think, does Adi Leela have a question? Or maybe not. Let's just see. No, I don't see a question. So I don't see any of the questions. So thank you very much. I think we're going to.
I had a quick question.
All right.
I was raising my hand. Sorry.
You're in the dark.
In the purport, Prabhupada spoke about avoiding yogis. So if you could elaborate on that, because then it seems like there's innocent yogis, because yoga is good for your health, and many people were speaking to, they just do yoga to get healthy.
I mean, problem means avoiding people who are envious of God. Not just we are yogis too. We are bhakti yogis. So we have nothing against bhakti yogis, we have nothing against hatha yogis, nothing against jnana yogis. I mean, they're all on the path of understanding spiritual life. However, someone who is inimical to someone whom you love is a different thing.
Yeah.
Like, for example, let's say if someone has a child and that another person thinks your child is ugly as sin, you're definitely not going to want to be around that person. And probably, even if someone has a dog and you say about your dog, what an ugly dog. I mean, I tried that one time with someone. Someone was walking around with this pug dog. The dog looks like it has a smashed in face. I'm sure some of you have seen that type of dog. Just like really, like someone like smashed him with it. He ran into a car and just smashed in. So I said, "There's an ugly dog." And the guy got so angry with me, I thought I was going to get killed that day. So sometimes Krishna says in the Gita, Satya Priya Hitam. One should speak pleasingly, beneficially, and truthfully. Those are the three standards: pleasing, beneficial, and truthful. So remember that. And if you can't, you can say things that are truthful, but are offensive. Like if someone's ugly and you come up to them and say, "You are ugly, ma'am," then you shouldn't do that. Because it's offensive. Maybe that's the truth. It's a lot of things that are the truth you don't want to say. You are stupid. You are ugly. You are useless. Of course, no one is useless because everyone's a devotee. And no one's ugly because they're spirit soul. And no one's stupid because the soul is full of eternity, blessed knowledge. So, but anyway, the point is you don't want to alienate or offend people. Such a pritam. That's the austerities of speech mentioned by Krishna in the Gita. So we are going to end now because it is time. Thank you all for joining us. And tomorrow morning or night, depending on what part of the world you're in, we are going to have some sort of discussion. I haven't decided on the topic, but we will have a discussion. Coming up this week is Nrsimha Chaturdasi. It's going to be Wednesday evening here in the East Coast of the United States, and that's, I guess it'll be the Thursday in New Zealand and Australia. I'm sure it'll be like that. And Wednesday evening at 5 o'clock, I'm gonna speak a little bit about Lord Nrsimhadev, and then we're gonna have an Abhishek, which will be broadcast in high quality on Zoom and Facebook and Mayapur TV simultaneously. And Abhishek and a little Havan and Arti for the deity. So that's going to be on Wednesday evening. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody on Nrsimha Chaturdasi also. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanand.